I'm Chase.
And I'm Timothy.
And this is Customer Service.
And we're back. What are we doing? How are we doing? What are we doing?
So fast. Normally you prepare a bit and then yeah. We're back. We're back with a guest too. So
yeah, this was dope. This is a first guest in a minute.
Yeah.
But it's a real treat. As you'll find, we have the same interests in. We grew up similar, going to shows.
Yep. Listen, as soon as we're taking notes and we're like, and it comes out that they're like a hardcore person, I'm like, oh, you don't need to take we're good. I don't need to take any more notes. I know it all.
We started right off the rip with same call outs. We were, making fun of, not making fun of, but mentioned how Graph Kids always had a bunch of tech gear because they had all their graffiti supplies, and how hardcore kids became barbers or worked at UPS, etc. Things we've said many a time. So it was very comfortable, fun conversation. It's Brandon Mahler.
Yeah. Brandon Mahler of, I don't know, I think like New York fame to a certain degree. Just like people just know him as being like a beautiful dresser. Yeah, you know what I mean? Yeah. But then also like has worked with Drake's and ALD and done I don't want to speak too much on it. I think it's better to just listen to him kind of talk through his like little journey inside of the fashion industry, because I think it's what makes him so interesting and such an interesting, person that people have worked with. So I think letting him kind of speak on that is its own thing. But like he's very much of our mentality with the whole thing.
100%. It's what we talked about with multiple guests or otherwise, or just kids coming in the shop of like, you want to get involved in this? Well, here is more or less the roadmap. Yeah. He laid it out pretty much perfectly. Of like, you got to be around, be involved, be socially capable, ask the right questions.
I don't think it's like confusing. It's just hard, and when people ask for advice or whatever, like a lot of it ends up just being like, no matter what I tell you, if you go out and just keep doing the same thing, then you're gonna be fine. You know what I mean? But if like one thing about what I say to you, like, oh, this will be really hard, you're like, oh, I don't know, and it's like, then you probably weren't gonna make it anyway, man. You know what I mean? Like you gotta just know it's just a lot of work, and you do a lot of different things and wear a lot of different hats, and you just do it because you love what you're doing. Yeah, you know what I mean? I don't think you get into it for any other reason. If you're like, I'm gonna get rich, it's like, it's only a handful of people that do that, and you bust you bust your. I mean, but how hard have we busted our asses for 8 years now? Yeah, you know what I mean. It's hard.
Yeah,
it's just
hard
really
work.
hard.
It's been hard from the beginning.
Even what gets even harder is as you start to like, it starts to like click. You're like, how do I keep this going? You know what I mean? It's just it's relentless. We got
more cogs in the machine. We have a whole bunch more people than we had 8 years ago.
Yeah. We have 2 people versus 15, and
one of them was Abby.
Up and up. I don't manage her. She,
yeah.
That one's always been off the table. Yeah. She managed herself. I'll sometimes bravely make a suggestion and then leave the room quickly. But that's about it. Yeah, that's the thing. Like when it was you, me, and Abby, it's such a different environment where it's like everyone's on the same page. No one's trying to fuck up. No one's trying to be you know what I mean? Like everyone's on the same. It's just so easy to move forward that way. But you can't do that. You can't get bigger with only 3 people. So it has to be more. And then as you bring on more, it just adds complications. And then success adds complications. Failures add complications. You know what I mean? And all those things are absolutely necessary to get to next steps. So it's just a hard industry. And it's like, I really respect when we get to talk to people who clearly have worked hard in the industry. You know what I mean? Where it's like, this wasn't I knew somebody that knew somebody and it got right in. It's like, and that's great. You know what I mean? If that's your circumstances, there's still a lot to be done. You get to skip some steps, which is great. Yeah. But I think anytime you do that, there's things I know that you don't know, and there's things I don't know. And I think that, someone like him, it's just nice to talk to someone that's really humble, understands the business, understands the mentality, and how difficult it is, but also how fun and important it is. Because it's a weird thing to talk about, where it's like, we even said in the thing, like, I know it's just like pants at the end of the day, but at the same time, like I think that, like, I don't think anybody like at an art gallery feels that way of like it's just some bullshit on you know what I mean? Because it's not. There is more magic in that than just that. And I understand, like, at the end of the day, art's just art, and if no one's being born and no one's dying, it might not be that important. But in this case, it's like I love art, and I think my number one interest in it is clothes, and it is important. Like, you know what I mean? That's somebody that's expressing themselves, that's making a huge cultural impact, and it's like important for us to like take it from somewhere else in the world and bring it here and show it to somebody for the first time and be like, this is why this is important.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So it's a complicated thing that like I still sort of feel like it's just pants and like we're just moving racks around and doing, you know what I mean? Shipping them out boxes. But it's also at the same time, it's this like much bigger thing too, you know?
Yeah.
Where it's like you're representing artists from around the world, and like very like some of the artists that I respect the most in art in general are trusting me to like tell that story. So yeah. So it's interesting.
Yeah,
so,
it's a real hoot.
Yeah. So it was great talking to Brandon. He's got a bunch of great things to say.
The crossover is remarkable. We have to link up with him at some point. So we'll make that a priority in some way to find him in real life, IRL. But yeah, a real sweetheart. Love him. Easy to chat with. I think it'll resonate with everyone here. Yeah. If you listen to me and Timothy do our
if you like us, okay. If you're here, you're gonna like Brandon.
You'll like him. Yeah.
All right, cool. Well, let's not waste any more time.
Cool. We'll hop right into it.
From what I understand, you're a hardcore guy.
Yeah.
Okay. So we like to do a lot of like hardcore guy bits, like a lot of yelling at sound guys about mics and stuff like that. You know what I mean?
We did. I shot a video with throwing fits this last weekend, and there was a scene where like everyone had to get really tight together. Yeah. And I was like, hey, if you're outside, come in. If you're in the back, fuck up.
All right, move it forward. Keep coming.
Yeah. You're like, bring it in.
Don't be afraid. You don't bite.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah. And it's always like the first band up that nobody knows, and they're like, you see like two scene girls get like a little closer because they feel bad, and you're like, I don't want to do. No one's dancing for this one, man.
Yeah. It's just like a bunch of people just kind of like,
oh shit,
like, I just want to see this band.
Yeah. Wait, so are you from Texas? Is that right?
I'm from Texas originally. I'm actually right here now. I'm in Houston right now. Nice. My friend's spot on the East End. Coral Sword. Yeah.
I don't know. I've spent like a lot of time in Austin at one point, but I've never really spent much other time in Texas, but I have this kind of little bit of a fascination with it. And I'm not sure where it's come from. Not the Joe Rogan podcast or anything like that. It's more just like I've seen like a lot of like I got into like photo books at one point, like heavy. And there was this one of like it was like suburban Texas, and it was like this very romantic photos of like early suburban Texas, and I was like, man, something about that in my head now is like it's a really cool place, but I don't know, but it's based on one book
because that's so kind of just like everywhere here, and especially like outside of Austin. Houston's a big city. I mean, Houston, Dallas, San Antonio are massive cities. They're huge. But yeah, I mean, there's so much. Houston's great. I was just talking to a bunch of friends about it not too long ago, and we were like, we need to plan like a boys trip. Yeah. Because I was like, and we got to do Houston too. Because I think there's a lot of stuff out here. There's like a lot of, it's amazing food, amazing art.
That's what I've heard.
Like highbrow and lowbrow, right? Like you have your stuff that's like, there's a lot of like cool like DIY things going on. And then there's also, your nicer stuff. We have an amazing museum system. The Menil, the MFAH, Center for, photography, contemporary craft, all that stuff. It's all, and a lot of it's free or cheap.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's really cool that we have that here.
That is cool. So like,
I love it here.
Where you grew up, did it feel more like living in a city or more like living in the suburbs?
Definitely city. I actually grew up very close to where I am now. Obviously there's like a lot of gentrification over here, and I grew up really close to where I'm at right now. Yeah. But like there was no public transit. Everyone we had cars. We all drove like real young, Yeah. I guess the only time we there were times like we would take the bus if we were skipping school, and then we want to go like into like what we call like the loop, which is like kind of like the city. But that's kind of it. It definitely feels like a city because there's a lot going on. It felt very big city. I had stuff that friends in LA or friends in New York also had. It was just maybe like slightly different, Yeah. Like we were in London not too long ago, and everyone's like, "Oh, they're just getting smash burgers now."
Yeah.
Maybe that's just a London thing.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. It's one of those things like we're both from like the Midwest, so like Indiana and Ohio. And like so our scene in music and stuff was very particular. It felt very like, like all of the shows we went to were in church basements, you know what I mean, or like wherever they would let, or like a what were those things?
VFW hall or something.
Yeah.
Totally, yeah.
So I didn't know if like what was that scene like for you, because I don't really know anything. I was just looking up like what are the hardcore bands from Texas? I guess I don't really know like
Power Trip, right?
Power Trip, yeah.
Power Trip is the biggest one.
Kubla Khan maybe now, but that's like metal. I feel like
It's
metal is from
that's
Texas.
a little more metalcore. There's
Yeah.
a lot. I mean, obviously, like Pantera.
Yeah.
Metallica. No, they're.
Where's they from?
I think are they OC?
Maybe.
For whatever reason, I think
It seems right. That sounds right.
Yeah. But there's a lot of DIY stuff here. There's like I grew up going to a lot of like grind shows too.
Okay,
Like there's
yeah.
a lot of like grind and metal. I think of like the band Insect Warfare, Pretty Little Flower. Like there's like a lot of bands like that. Actually, the space I'm in now, it's very funny. Before it was a coffee shop, it was like hollowed out for so long. Like it was just like a shell.
Yeah.
And we threw shows here.
Yeah.
Sick.
So like I'm like sitting in a coffee spot, and it's cool because it's like new coffee. They do a lot of board games. Like I'm looking at people play like Magic the Gathering right now.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
And like
different energy.
And like, but like I was like we literally had like I'm like looking right there, and I'm like I've seen someone like run into that wall. You know what I'm saying? Like it's just like a very different, like you said, super different energy. But there's a lot. I think Texas. We also had the festival Chaos and Tejas.
Oh, okay,
Like, and that was like a really big, like, wide blanket of bands where it's like Bastard played, Bolter would play, Cold War would play, The Abused would play, Youth of Today would play.
Yeah.
And then it would also be shit like Currency, Andy Stott, like Bushwick Bill played one year, like, like,
Sick. Yeah.
it was, so you're getting like a lot of stuff. And I think the other thing about Houston, because it's big and you don't get a lot of stuff, we never got a lot of stuff in like Texas didn't for a while.
Yeah.
There was a lot of punk bands. You go Austin, it's like, the Big Boys and all those other bands that like were doing things like that were like more on the punk side of things. But it seems like everyone here, at least it used to be that way, would go to everyone else's thing.
Yeah.
So if there was someone that was like doing like we all got into, like, a lot of me and my friends got into electronic music pretty early on because like, well, it's something to do, and it's like a guy that we know that's doing a show, so we should just like pull up and go because he comes, like, he sees our bands, or like we know him through so and so, and there's always like the hardcore guy to, or like punk guy to like electronic music pipeline, too. So like that happens, and so there's a little bit of that. But we were just going to everything just because it's like something to do, and it's like still like DIY spirit.
Yeah. You just get to hang out with the crew and hang out outside. I don't know. Were you straight edge?
Yeah.
Same.
I recently, I'm like, I've only been not edge for like 4 years.
Hell yeah.
Maybe 3. Yeah. So
can I ask what you broke on?
Yeah. What'd you break on?
A nice bottle of wine.
Beautiful.
When I was, the first time I went to Pipiwamo with Drake's.
Oh,
beautiful. Let me ask you, as a person,
did anyone in the room know that this was like a breaking moment, or
no? Well, they were just like, oh, he's fine, he's not gonna drink. I was like, you know what?
Let me try.
I'll take the glass. I was like, I'll take a glass, and everyone was like, oh, cool. And I was like, it's a very big deal, and I like,
yeah.
But then afterwards, it's like, yeah, it's cool.
Yeah. No, it's all good. I have a huge X on my foot. From when I lived in the dorms, I was staunchly straight edge. I was like mosh kid for a long time, but eventually I was like, fuck it. And I had an Oktoberfest, like, like a pumpkin beer. And I was like, dude, this is awful. Like, you guys drink this like willingly, but
yeah. Breaking on wine was nice. I have straight edge tattoos. I have 2 giant X's on the back of my calves.
That's my boy.
It's like very funny.
Welcome home, brother.
Exactly. It's like, you get them when you're like, I didn't even get them when I was 18. I got them when I was like 17.
Yeah, it matters more then, dude. It's more genuine that way.
I keep talking about, I want to get a straight edge tattoo now. I have not been straight edge since I was like a teenager, and it's like, and I like, I'm gonna keep smoking weed, but I don't drink anymore. So so it's like I'm gonna put 1 X on.
Yeah, you're like half an X. You're like, what is it?
Half of one. Yeah, I've earned it. So
most of my friends broke on weed. Which is like very fun. Like we called it like, and this, it's like generational thing. Like it happened with like my crew, and then like the crew before was like probably Iron Age, and then Power Trip, and like those people all like did the same thing. Like a bunch of those guys were straight edge, or a bunch of the guys like around those bands and in those like adjacent crews were straight edge, and then they were just like like they were just gonna smoke weed and get really high, and like that was like I think that's very funny.
And write heavy ass riffs.
Yeah, and then
So,
that's how doom metal began.
yeah, it's great. We needed that.
like,
We needed that.
Yeah.
It's hot.
Yeah, and just hi, it's fine.
Yeah.
So were you running the merch? Were you moshing, or were you in the bands? Like which element are all three?
Everything. I've gone on tour with a bunch of bands before, and I think like when you do DIY stuff, you kind of do everything. My band is Dress Code, and we've been a band since like 2013, maybe.
Hell yeah.
And yeah, so we went on a bunch of tours, but I've also like sold merch for like all my friends' bands, Scourge, Narrowhead.
Narrowhead! Shout out Narrowhead. I want to talk
Narrowhead.
about that real quick. Is the EP called Far Removed? Maybe like 2014.
Yeah.
Me and my buddy John, shout out John, he's going to listen to this. We found that in college, and we spun that for the last like year of our college, just like endlessly. And we just had Matthew Berry on from Ram.
Yeah.
He's
buddies with
100,000
them.
something too. Yeah, and I know he's friends with them.
And a crazy. I've gone on tour, done like dates with some of his old bands while I was like with Narrowhead.
Yeah, hell yeah.
Narrowhead fucking rips, dude.
They're the best. I was just with them for like a month in the UK.
Sick.
Yeah.
So
Dude,
we just ripped a fun little tour. They just announced their tour today with Rival Schools in Grandma.
Oh hell yeah. Yeah.
Will you be with them or no?
It'll be West Coast. We talked about it. We kind of want to like. I just did this last one, and I was like, okay, it's a little more fun. It's a little more fun. They're a little more established. Like,
Sure.
not sleeping in the van or sleeping at someone's like house while they're like ripping lines. It's like it's a little easier. But yeah, they're great. They're like the best band. So the singer and guitar player in Narrowhead is the guitar player in Dress Code, and the drummer for
cool.
also the drummer
let's go.
for Dress Code.
Yep.
Hell yeah.
So,
what do you play?
I sang in the band.
Oh,
Yes,
awesome.
sir.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. Hardcore frontman.
Come on, baby.
Oh, you're pure frontman, no instrument with you at all.
No.
That feels like the most difficult task you can take on.
I feel like it's the easiest.
I mean, I hear you, but
If you show up ready to play ball, you know what I mean? That's one thing. But
if you know how to work a crowd, I think it's okay. But you do get sometimes where you're like, it's just music for a minute, and you're like, I don't know what the guy's supposed to do. Like, God bless him. There's nothing to do.
I think a lot of front men like kind of run into that issue. Like they're like, well, I don't know like what the thing is. Like, how do I like speak to the crowd? I'm just like we've always been kind of like a joke, like not a joke band, but we're like we teeter the line a little bit, like we're like kind of a meme band.
Sure.
You ever seen Pooh and Tim's?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, we made that when we were going.
Oh shit! Okay, cool.
To the fest in Toronto.
Oh, that's so cool.
Like,
yeah,
I still have the bear in my house in New York.
Yeah, hell yeah. I mean, like it's like how do you reckon with this whole thing then that you're like working in there's like it's because it does feel like two very different worlds, quite frankly, like especially like hardcore or anything adjacent and then into fashion. Like it feels like I sometimes think like it's such a big part of my personality and like how I grew up. And I think that like I basically when people ask like, how did you get in, like what did you go to school for or something like that, I'm like I went to school for fashion, but it literally doesn't matter at all. My entire career trajectory was hardcore music, was being in like the DIY scene. Like that's how everything that I do now is all just based on how we did things then. It's just do it yourself, you put it together yourself, you put it out yourself. It's all the same mentality. But I also don't feel very like hardcore anymore, you know what I mean? Because like I don't play that kind of music anymore. I mean, I still listen to it regularly, but it's like it's still like such a huge part of my personality, I think. But I don't know how to like. It's like hard to like piece those things together outside of that. But you can't like. It's hard to explain that.
Yeah, I mean, you're a dad now.
Yeah, it's a different thing.
Yeah, I think like it's like growing up, like I got into it. I was like always into more like. I'm gonna sound like a content creator now. I was always into like style when I was younger,
Yeah,
through
yeah.
vintage. And I just mimicked what all the East Coast bands are wearing.
Yeah.
Like all the East Coast bands just like really preppy. And I was like, I was like, no one's doing that here, so that's cool and it's very different.
Yeah.
So I would kind of like try to mimic it. And that's how I got into vintage stuff. And similar to you, a lot of the DIY ethics and ethos have like never left me, and like those work ethics have like trickled into, and I like think about it too. And I was talking to a friend about it the other day, where it's like not only does that go into like work and like professional stuff, but also like personal relationships on like how to like that, like once all this stuff kind of starts like mixing together, it becomes I don't know, I feel like it really helps. Like it's really helped me. And I think it's like subculture kids. I was just talking to Nico from Palms yesterday, and like, you know, a lot of kids that grew up in like skate and like subculture or like electronic music or whatever it is, like like actually like grew up in it. They understand stuff a lot quicker. Like they're a lot quicker to like,
interesting,
you know, like kind of like tap in.
Yeah, like pick up on the
like,
cues and figure out the world, you know, the lay of the land. Sure.
Yeah, I think like whether it's like, you know, in fashion, it's like, you know, a lot of stuff is like marketing and the storytelling, and like that's all hardcore is.
Yeah,
It's like it's logo and then it's all storytelling. It's all like, you know, we're all here for the same reason for the most part. What about this band is like cool? Like I always think of like a band. Like if you see a band, like they don't have like a look. And like I know it's like kind of funny to say, but it's like if there's a punk band, they don't look cool. Like I don't want to listen to it.
Hey,
like if there's
listen,
like a
we
hardcore
talk
band,
about that
cool. Like, I don't
all the
listen, I don't
time, and you're
listen
like,
to it.
I feel bad about this, and I understand they might be talented musicians, but if you get to the show and you're like, they don't look the way I thought they were gonna look, you're like,
Yeah.
There's no
it's just,
like
it
there's no
ruins
like
it.
swagger. There's no like, and I'm like that matters. Like I don't know why. Like to me, I'm like I don't know. Maybe it's just like it's like being a little bit older than a lot of people in my like, or a lot of people like that doesn't matter. And at a time, I was like, yeah, maybe that doesn't matter. Like, or I like, but I remember like I got shit a lot on like people made fun of me all the time for like being into clothes or whatever.
Sure.
You know, like for like, working in that like world. And then now people I just like think it's cool. I think a lot of people have gotten over it.
Oh, I've seen like this world permeating the like music scene, like especially in like the lower levels of the music scene, like hardly. Like you see a lot of like noticeable clothing on like guys that I'm like, I don't know, this must be kind of new for you, you know, but like
100%.
I like it.
I see it all the time where it's like, you know, it's like, oh, it's hard to say because like a lot of like tech. I'm thinking of technical outerwear right now, but a lot of technical outerwear gets like it came into the scene through graffiti.
Yeah, graph
right?
kids
like,
had to have all the shit in their pockets,
like,
and
love like they love tech shit, right? So they love you know, North Faces and Arkies and Gore-Tex and you know all that and like Stonies and shit like that. Like that's how I bought my first Stony off of like the graph kid, and same thing with like my you know first Arkie like ages ago. And like you see it now, and it's just like everywhere now. Like back then, they'd be like, "Why are you wearing that stupid like yellow jacket?" You know, like the jacket's disgusting. It's nasty. It's like
why do you have 2 crossbody bags?
It's like well, but I think like, but you are seeing it now, and now I think the thing like, and like I don't know, bands are like, I want to be in GQ. I'm like, why? Like, you guys don't look cool. You know, I don't know. It's like a thing. Like, bands are like, oh, I want to get in GQ. I want to do that. I want to be like. I'm like, it's weird. I mean, obviously we have to embrace it, right? Like, as both worlds get bigger and bigger. Like, look at bands like now. Like, you know, Narrowhead played Coachella last year. Turnstiles played Coachella. Like, you know, as our friends are starting to like get bigger and do their things, like also like our worlds are getting bigger and like more and more people are into fashion and give a shit about it now. Like that makes our like we're able to make money off of that. Like because more people care, we're able to have jobs and like sell that stuff. So I don't know, it's like it's a weird thing because it's like very funny. It's like, well, back in my day, you know, like not trying to be like the old head, but there are times where like you got like it that kind of like comes in a little bit, you know?
Well, you look at it and you're like, you know, thinking about a band like Narrowhead or something like that, where you're like, you know, like I've seen like this huge shift towards like this interest in like shoegaze and everything. And some of it's probably just like nostalgia that's playing in or something like that. And obviously it was just a very cool looking time period in clothing. But the second thing that I always say that happens is like hardcore guys got enough money to buy effects pedals. That's really all that happened. And then they were like, oh, this shit's cool and it can still be heavy. Yeah. And it may be a little bit more appealing than to one, you know, subset. And then it just gets bigger from there, you know? And it's interesting to see like this weird evolution of like all these kids that came out of like a scene that I don't think it doesn't exist anymore, but it's wildly different than it used to be. And it's way more blended. Like you were saying, like, and I guess where we grew up, we had a little bit of this of like, there just only was one scene of music kids, really. Now it was predominantly hardcore, but there was metal guys there was indie bands, and you just kind of got thrown on these 12 band, you know, bills. And we're like, you play somewhere in there, and you kind of just sat through everyone because where else were you going to go in rural Indiana? You know what I mean? So you hung out and you listened to a lot of different stuff. So that was always kind of happening, but that wasn't really by choice. Now it feels like the scenes aren't quite so specific, and there's so much weird stuff blended in that I can't totally figure it out, meaning I think they're onto something, because like I shouldn't be the one. I'm too old to be figuring it all out now. You know what I mean? I shouldn't get some of it.
I think like I always think it's like if I get to a certain age and I'm super worried about like what the younger kids are doing, like just like put me out. Like, just like kill me, because then like it's like then I've lost like the plot, because it's like I was that young kid at one point, right? I was like there used to be like forums, and they would literally just like make fun of my friends. Like they come in here and they're wearing like goofy clothing, and they do this and they do that and and they're just like, all right, whatever, like we're just having fun. I mean, for the most part, that's like what these kids are doing. They're just having fun, and like just because someone's comes into a scene for like maybe the wrong reasons doesn't necessarily mean they'll stay for the right ones.
Yeah, exactly.
Most of the time.
Yeah.
It's like my thing is like if you play a show and there's like one of the last shows we played over here, it was like a ton of new kids, people I'd never seen before. And like when we were playing years before that, you would go and you'd see it's like a bunch of people. You know everyone in the room. So then you're like, hey, how many of you guys have never seen us before? And it's because we played a show with Narrowhead. It's like like it's like a completely like new crop of people. They're all younger. They're like, we've never like afterwards like, I've never seen you play before. Like it like there's like I think it's like kind of coming into it again. Like a lot of the bands and people are kind of coming into, there's like a new, like maybe like a little bit of a renaissance. And I think like here especially, like there's a ton of new in Texas, like a ton of good new like like demo core bands, like like Youth Crew, fast like USHC sounding shit, which is like it was missing for so long, and I was like, oh, hardcore is terrible, right? Because like that shit doesn't exist. And now it's like I feel like it's back with like a vengeance, and it's so cool because like that's the stuff that I like. Like I listened to a lot of like emo and like metalcore in like middle school, but that's like the transition for a lot of people is like they get out of that. And they're like, oh, this is bad. Like this is really bad. Like the clothing is bad. The people are bad. Like it's terrible. What is like the next step up? Like what's like the evolution of this? And like, this is like a very like socially conscious and socially aware scene, and they give a shit about people. They give a shit about what's happening in the world. Like it's politically charged, and like you're like, okay, cool. Like I'm an adult now because I like listen to this stuff, but also, you start caring about stuff. Your taste change, like your priorities change a little bit, right? Like you being a dad now, like you're not always going to listen to like aggressive music. You're not always going to listen to stuff like that. Your priorities change, and like you'll go back to it and listen to it and be like, cool, like I do remember that, and like maybe someday I give my kid like a 7-inch and they're like, cool, I love this out, but like if not, who cares? Like
listen, I think it's the whole reason why these scenes kind of always worked, because I don't think it matters at all what kind of music you're listening to or what kind of scene you're in. It's all just like about like how you care about the music. Like it's the passionate side of things. And even with my daughter who's 5, but like, I like to show her different things, and she's definitely like, at least right now, she's not grabbing onto things that I'm showing her that are like more like in that more aggressive tone. Like it's not hitting her right. You know what I mean? Now, granted, I've tried to show her things that maybe were too far, like Obituary and stuff was maybe a bridge too far. But like I think that like what she has grabbed onto is like dance music and shit. Like, she likes Charlie XCX and stuff. And you're like, it doesn't matter. Like, all they're gonna grab onto is like how they care about it. And as long as that still exists, it doesn't matter what kind of music it is or what kind of. They'll all find it the same exact way, like you're saying. You know what I mean? All your reference points ultimately kind of come back to the same handful of places, because there's only so many people that are doing it with like enough taste and enough consciousness to like really permeate or stay around or whatever it is. And like I don't know. That's why I love those scenes so much, and why I think those kids connect, and why we're all basically doing the same kinds of jobs, because it's the same thing we were talking about earlier. First time I ever went to like a show when I was younger, it was like, oh, this looks and behaves exactly how the fantasy was in my head. And I think we're all sort of chasing that same sort of thing. It's just like within clothes. I really only ever cared about the fantasy that it presented, which is why Ralph Lauren hit me right away, where it was just like, he is making up a fantasy world that doesn't exist. And the handful of times where it connects in life and makes it feel real is like worth the whole thing. You know what I mean? And I really feel that way about I think that's why so many, like, I meet so many people in like that came from the hardcore scene or punk scene or whatever it was, in fashion now. So if they're not working at UPS, they're working in fashion or something like that.
Or they're cutting hair.
Or they're cutting hair.
Yeah. I'm literally next to the coffee shop is next to a barber, and there are a lot of people in there that I know through.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
So I think that's
There's a lot of guys with fades in there.
It's true. It happened out there in Texas, happened in Cleveland, happened in Indiana. It's happening
everywhere. It's like you're a tattoo artist, you're a barber, you're a hairdresser, whatever it is. But even I remember back then, there were like some guys that I thought were really cool, and they were hairdressers, and I was like, damn, maybe I do that, because I was like, it's like they kind of got some like cool shit on. They kind of flashy a little bit, because like, they're working in fucking Visible Changes at the mall and getting, paid $100 for a haircut. Like,
dude, fuck yeah.
Like, you're not going there. Like, they're like, we're not taking your ass to Visible Changes, bro. Like, relax.
Think again, dude.
It's an incredible name, by the way, for that business.
Did they not have that there? Like,
no, but
not for us.
No. Man, we didn't have that. You guys might be a little fresher there than we were.
Yeah.
We had
it's like I gotta like find it and like send it, but like the way this place is set up, it's like this is the first thing that comes to mind is like Goth Diner. It's like black tile everywhere, and then like neon green lights, and it's like Visible Changes in neon green lights.
Hell yeah.
And that was like, and it was like where like, if you had a fucking choppy haircut, or you had like some scene shit, or you had some bangs, or you had like weird color in your hair, you were going there for sure.
Hell yeah.
We just had like one girl in town who did that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You had to be friends with her, and it was a long line to get a choppy haircut. And then I had like curly hair, and she's like, there ain't nothing we're doing here. And I was like, well, then we're shaving it because it's hardcore. I only have two options.
Yeah, that was literally me. I'm like, this is the longest I've gone with that. I quit my job recently, and like, not recently, like 6 months ago, and then just kind of like stopped cutting my hair.
Yeah.
And like, so it's like, I've like trimmed it a couple times, but I'm just like, in my like, my friend called it like my disheveled era. He was like, you're just like leaning into the not having a job thing. And just being like, but like normally I was like every week I was just like,
cleaning it up,
line up, haircut, like, but yeah, that's such a thing, like a, I don't know, indicator of music. Like people were like, oh yeah, we're going to a place with a cool haircut.
Yeah. Oh yeah, 100%. I mean, I can think there were, like you said, there were a couple dudes in the scene who became barbers or were already barbers, and there's this one dude, gorgeous fella. I won't say his name, but he was like a gorgeous dude. He would model. He was in a crew, so he was kind of like a hard ass too. You know what I mean? But he started cutting hair, and one time he cut my hair. He was wearing like an Ironheart vest, and I was like, motherfucker, I know how expensive that is. And I was like, damn, so you can get money cutting hair and still do the whole bit and be cool. And that was life changing. I was like, damn.
That's always appealing to like see your like people. It's like the first time I saw Our Legacy clearly just do like some youth crew shit, and then like name something after like what's the sunglasses they've had forever? Is it like an
damn it,
band, Unbroken or whatever?
Yeah.
Right, like it's like I'm like, oh, this is clearly after a band. Like I'm like, I see what you guys are doing here.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, that's cool. You guys like get it.
I see. Sometimes I feel like I'm looking for the connection and it's not there. Like there was a brand that just had like put like a line sheet out and there was like a carry on jacket and I'm like, carry on.
Yeah.
Right.
That
Yeah.
shit you're into?
Flagged.
Yeah,
I didn't
yeah,
know
yeah.
you knew that.
I didn't know you were one of us.
It's like 7A, 7P. Like
Yeah.
you're like, huh?
Yeah. So how do you go from being a guy in Texas to doing the jobs that you've done? Which I'll let you. You've had some. I'm also interested in this. You've had some long titles from what I've seen, and I think that like. The fashion industry is one where I meet so many people that want to be in it, but nobody knows what they want to do in it. If that makes sense, they just want to be in it.
In it, yeah.
So
In
like,
it.
I mean, that makes sense. When I started doing it, I just worked back of house at Gucci. I was like a back of house associate, and I worked my way up to becoming a back of house manager. And after that, like, I moved to. I had like a really weird thing. I went out to interview for a job for Acme, and the sales director was like, "I really like you, but you have no on paper sales experience." He was like, "People in the States care about that so much." He was like, "In Stockholm, we don't care. We're like, you're a cool person. I would love to hire you." Like, I think like Rose McGowan was in the store when I was having my interview.
oh, wow.
And I was like, "Oh, so cool." And like,
I would have just said, I'll come back.
No, I was wearing this like Gucci suit that I had got from work, and I was wearing like Margiela painted boots, and I was like, she was like, "Oh my God, I love your boots." I was like, "Oh, thanks so much." And then we started talking, and I was just like, and he was like, "The way that you carry that conversation, like, you know," she was like, "Do you work here?" I was like, "No, I'm actually interviewing for a job." And, like, we were just like talking, whatever. And she was like, and he was like, "That's cool. Like, I wanted to hire you right after that." And they were like, "But like, you have no on paper experience." So I moved to Austin, started as a sales associate at By George, and like kind of like,
oh, cool! Shout out By George.
and like, yeah, like they're great.
Yeah.
You know, started talking to them a little bit more as a like. He was like, "Get 6 months of sales experience, and then we'll hire you." And within 6 months, I got promoted to like assistant manager, and then I was like, "Cool, I want to do this, but I also want to learn how to do like everything else."
Yeah.
Like I was like, and I really want, like, like when I'm saying like I want to learn how to do everything else, I don't mean in like a kid comes into the store and like I immediately want to be a buyer. Like I want to learn like, why these things are important.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I started to do that, and I was there for 4 years ish. And I became, the assistant men's buyer there, and like met a ton of people through that. And but I was still like would come into the shop, work the floor, like talk to customers, talk to clients, do stuff like that. And it was like a very cool experience. And that's actually how I met. I'm someone, an ex-HC person. I was like, who knows someone at Drake's? They were at the Armory. They put me on to people at the Drake's, and then we started working with Drake's. So I brought them in for a season, and then left that job, took some time off, went on tour a bunch, then moved to New York for the position at Drake's.
Hell yeah, dude.
Yeah. Hell yeah, man. Like, what was that initial move like for you? Because you'd lived in Texas at this point all your life, right?
Yeah. I mean, because I was a buyer and because I'd been going there for fests and stuff, it was pretty easy.
Yeah.
It was pretty easy. It was pretty chill. I think I like knew where I wanted to go already, knew where I wanted to hang out, knew where I didn't want to live.
Yeah.
Ended up living there anyways. I was like, no Bushwick. And then I ended up living in Bushwick with a bunch of HC people. And I was like, all right, this is actually fine. It's fun. And I was like, all right, I got to get out of Bushwick. But I'd been there for so long, and I already had like a good like crew. I already had friends. I already knew people. So when people found out I moved, they're like, we're going out. We're going to introduce you to places. We're going to take you to places. We're going to do stuff. And I think like Soho too, like working, that was the nice thing about having the office underneath the store, was like, you're so close to everything, and you're still like kind of in the mix, and you're able to still like, I'm around. Like, are you around? I was like, actually I am. Like, let me pop out for lunch. I'll meet you at,
Sure.
Yeah. Back then we were going to LD and getting coffee all the time. And like, obviously before I worked there. But yeah, I think like that was I had like a pretty cool, like, not quite support system yet, but like a lot of people that I could go to and be like, hey, I just moved. Let's get a coffee or let's get a
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
drink or whatever. And or not, I didn't drink at the time, or like dinner, but whatever, and like that was very nice. And
Yeah.
I already kind of knew the city, knew how things worked, like knew how to move, knew how to do stuff. So I felt like I'd been there. If you're buying for what 3-4 years,
Mm-hmm.
you're there a lot.
Yeah.
You're in, you're going to showrooms 2-3 times a year.
Yeah.
I mean, just
More
going
if
to
you're
like
helping with women's.
100%. Plus, you're like you got to go 18 different parts of the city in a very short amount of time. So you do get to like learn it pretty quickly when you do it that way, for sure.
Yeah, like the head of like buying. We should take a car. I'm like, are you kidding? It's like 4. We're not taking a car. Like we have to. It's like,
yeah,
it's around the corner. We'll get there in like 15 minutes on the train. They're like, okay, New York, because like they used to live there.
Yeah,
And I was like, but like you used to live here.
Yeah. You should know better than anyone.
Yeah.
So what was your title at Drake's what were you doing there?
Drake's is a very interesting way of like them being from London. A lot of like the language is very different.
Oh, okay.
Right. So I was like the operations manager.
Got it.
And I was like, I'm doing like in my head, I'm like, operations is kind of like all the back of house and like
Yep.
this and that. And I was like, oh, you guys have a very different definition of operations.
Sure.
Like, because it was like everything.
Mm-hmm.
So, I did back of house, all that stuff. I like redid their stock room, redid a bunch of stuff like logistically.
Yeah.
And because at the time they were on a crossing and it was like super small. And then the pandemic happened, and even before the pandemic happened, they were like, hey, we kind of want to move you into like doing some other stuff, like more of like a like retail director kind of role, but it's still like you're still kind of handling everything.
Yeah.
They're like, because they're like, okay, you can. They're like, solid. You can steer the ship. Like you like not scared to like pick up like a mallet and do something, and then also like go upstairs and like put something together. And I was still learning. It was like that world looked very cool to me because I never really wore ties.
Yeah.
And like you think of like the imagery from back then, like 2017, 2018, 2019, that imagery was just like unreal.
Yeah.
Like, right? Like no one was doing anything like that.
Nope.
It's like, even look at like, I don't know, like Sid and Ashburn back then.
It was something so traditional, and I think because it was still that, it cut through the noise like way more because you just weren't seeing that at the time. Everything was so loud.
Everything was loud, or like everything was like, and you're coming off of like a lot of the Americana stuff.
Sure.
So it's like, and for whatever reason, like a lot of that early Drake stuff also like ticked so many boxes. So I was like, it's like I would wear this, and that's like not my it's not my thing. And I would totally still wear that. I would totally do that still.
It's like this sudden, it was like this sudden, I think it's still kind of happening to a certain degree. This like, there's always like these knee jerk reactions to trends that get big, big, big. And then suddenly it's now like, I don't want anything to do with them at all. And like that one started to be this return to just like wearable clothing. Like, you know what I mean? More lifestyle driven, super wearable, nothing that's a piece. You know what I mean? Everything was just like, I can just wear this every day and it's chill. Like everyone will get this. I'll be respected at my normal job and I can be respected by my peers that are into this shit. And like, I think it's been a nice thing to see like fashion go back to that and like put a little more emphasis on just like wearability and personal style as opposed to just like, here's a really loud thing,
Right. And I think it's like, it also like, you're able to do a lot with it. It's like, it feels like I'm getting like, that was the thing too. It's like that stuff is not cheap, but it's like, you feel like you're getting your money's worth. Like I wore something the other day and I was like, fuck, I really wore this. Like I really, really wore this.
Yeah.
Like I was like, I really did that. Like, wore it a lot. Like I think it was a Drake's piece. I think it was like a chore coat or something. Like maybe one of the suede chores. And I was like, I really like wore this. I really like
it's yours
a lot. Yeah. And it feels like it's mine.
Yeah.
And that was the thing that they do really well. And like their customer base is so diverse. So that was the thing. It's like I was doing a lot of stuff and I got to meet a lot of people. And I think that also turned into a lot of like the other stuff that I got to do there. Like, a lot of like the community-based stuff and like turning into like how I met the guys at ALD, and how I met that team and how I met that crew and how I met a lot of other people in New York or downtown at least.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then when you were at ALD, you were doing like visual, right? Is that correct?
Yeah. So I
VM?
was like the global visual merchandising manager, which
Yeah.
is just basically like I'm doing visual merchandising for New York and London. And it's a really cool job. It's like very fun because I think you're getting to just bring everyone into that world,
Yeah.
right? Like it's like that was like the big thing. A lot of people came in, like Kyle, to bring up Brain Dead again, came in. It was like, well, I think I get it a little bit more now that I've
Sure.
like seen the store, and it's like the books you're getting are cool, the ceramics you're getting are cool. Like it's all like small props. Like a lot of my job was like prop sourcing. And
Sure.
like,
Yeah.
hey, like what did we use for the photo shoot? How do we make that? Like where are you guys shooting? What are you doing? Okay, cool. What's the concept? Okay, let me see how I can bring that into the store.
Mm-hmm.
But like in like subtle ways. I don't want to like blow it up, and be like, here's a giant like Greek flag. It's like how do we do like small things here and there,
Yeah.
and like get some small things to nod back and like do it tastefully. Like I see a lot of people do it now, and it'll be like book ceramic, and I'm like, that looks like shit because that book is like not a good book. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it doesn't feel
like,
real. And as soon as you break that, I don't think when you don't notice it, you've done such a good job. You know what I mean? And then when someone tries to do that without, and you're like, I notice it immediately, and it feels like it feels like a put on.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It feels fake. It doesn't feel like you.
And then you have like people that would come in and they would look and they'd be like, this is a really, really good book. Like I would put this in the back. I was like, no, I have another one. Like this is like the beat up version, you know, like, and then of course, like the same book is like in the office and we're using it for reference, but like no one knows that.
Yeah.
It's like little nods like that matter to us and the team there and like the design team and like, all those people that really, really like, they have a good big team there and it's a good team. And they're just like so dialed. Obviously, it's like that's why everyone copies them all the time. Like every store wants to have a fucking cafe now.
Mm-hmm.
Like you can't throw a rock without hitting a store with a cafe.
Yeah,
and they
they
made that,
all
like,
suck shit.
Yeah, and they're all.
It's just
and
the
that's
reality.
The other thing too is like a lot of people that I'm friends with that are like, I don't like the brand, but they're like, God damn, they can make a good fucking cup of coffee because Ted cares so much about like what he's doing and like what is happening. He's like, you can't just be surface level. Which a lot of people are, and they see it surface level, and that's why it appeals to them. But it goes deeper than that, and then that's why, like, that's what gets people to like stay because like they're learning as they're like learning through this like weird level of like consumerism, where they're like getting involved in this like engulfed in this world, and they're like, oh, I'm really gonna like, I want to be a part of it. I want the cafe hat, I want the apron, I want the. They made tea towels and they never sold them. I was like, the tea towels are so cool. We should have sold fucking tea towels. Because Supreme did tea towels now.
Yeah.
And I was like, those are great.
Yeah.
I'm washing my hands on stuff. Like, that's cool.
Well, it's just like when you go to like a great hotel and you're like, oh, dude, I want all this stuff. Give me all that stuff. You know what I mean? Like, it's just.
No, keep going.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like I think that like those little touches that are so silly, but it just connects you way. Again, I think all this just goes back to like when I first walked into that the first show, I went, holy shit, this is everything I wanted it to be and more, and I can interact with it. And that's the same thing it's the same thing. The reason the store is important to us, the money's irrelevant to the store. Like I'm glad it does well, but like the point is when someone goes in there and they interact with cool people who are super mellow that like aren't just wearing only just what we have, but mixing it in ways that I wouldn't have thought to put it together because they're young and super cool and they have their own personalities, and you go in and the music's good, I try to be really encouraging about just play whatever the hell you guys actually listen to. I do not want this to not be real. I want when someone says this is cool, you to be like, oh, let me go check the Spotify. I want it to be like, no, I know this because I love this band. And I think that it allows it, if you're good at allowing it to be its own thing, like where it's like this, it is not me anymore. I mean, I'm in there, but like it's everyone's, and it becomes a community. You walk in and like, this is what I thought it was in my head. You know what I mean? And when that connects, it's like the best feeling in the world. It's the same thing with the hotel towels. You're like, this is what I wanted. This is the way I wanted it to look.
Yeah. Right. I think that is a huge deal. And to go back to By George and to go back to Austin a little bit, the new owner of the company also runs a hospitality company. So it's like he owns like 20 restaurants in the city at this point. Every time you go into the restaurant, the experience is good.
Yeah.
The people are in like, everyone has like kind of a uniform, but kind of not.
Mm-hmm.
But it looks kind of casual. But like, I'm like, wait, that's a St. James shirt. And those are, like, so like everything is dialed. The everything looks good. Everything is like, people pay attention to it.
Yeah.
And I feel like at the store at the time, like me and that crew brought like a new everything you just said. We did at that store.
Yeah.
Like we did it by George, and we were like, we want to play cool music. Like we got a record player. We got like, it's like I don't want to be just like some random department store that's doing this. I want it to be cool and good and authentic. And I was like, I want to like people come in and not be annoyed and like come and hang out and like have a good time, because like a record store or a skate shop or something like that where you're going in and like you're getting all of those recommendations, or did you go to blah blah blah, try the coffee, did you go to so and so and try like the food. And it's like I always tell people, like, if you want to know what's like good, like this is the other thing, it's like hotels, like we feel like a lot of hotels have like lost that. Right? Like I was like, you go to a hotel and like they don't know what's up. Like it's like someone that's just been doing like concierge for like the same, so they're just telling them what their boss is telling them, what their like manager is telling them. If you want to know what's cool, like go to a store that's like clearly like tapped in and plugged in, and like go to where like those people are like shopping or hanging out, and that's where you're gonna find your like good recommendations.
You sort of give I've tried to give people advice when they're like, I don't know how to, I'm trying to grow, I'm trying to do these things. And you're like, the problem is like, I think a lot of the times is you want your vision to be the only vision here. And if you want something to be bigger than yourself, then you need to allow it to be bigger than yourself. You know what I mean? Like we do some stuff and he's a face and I'm a face and the people at the store are a face and the people that do the YouTube stuff are a face. Everyone here is going to have a piece of it. And that's great. You know what I mean? If you can embrace that and allow it to be this imperfect kind of like thing that like people will just connect to because it's real, then it'll be fine. But I think that's really hard to do, especially bigger businesses really have a struggle with that.
Yeah, I think because I get it. It's like you have something, it's your baby, you don't want to let go. Yeah. Right?
Yeah.
But there's a chance, like I've said it since like I've seen it, and it's like if you don't evolve, you'll die. And if you don't let like someone young take the reins and do something cool,
totally.
Like look at all the big fashion houses now. They're just letting like some of the people just like look at Ferragamo. Dude has never done like something before, and he's like killing it. It's so good right now.
Yeah, let it be interesting.
Let it be cool. Like let it be interesting. Let someone freak it. Let someone freak it for once, and just see how. And like you get like it's the same thing I said. Like if I get to a certain age and I give so much of shit about what young people are doing, it's ruining my like experience. I don't need to be here anymore. Yeah. That's a hardcore thing that I've like thought about for so long, and like that is clearly just like true in so many things. It's like I think about like myself at 16. It's like I was a shithead. Most 16-year-olds now are like super like switched on. They're like more aware. They're more like socially, politically conscious. They know what the fuck is going on. Totally. I was such a dumbass when I was 16, 17. Like it's like, so it's like. I think about that now. There are certain things where like that doesn't translate. Like like I always joke about like people that want jobs in the industry but they don't actually want to work. Like I'm like, oh cool, you want to be like a CD, or you want to work in like visuals. Like what have you done? Like you can't even like rack a rack or like fold a shirt or talk. You can't even have like a conversation with someone. That was my thing about hiring. Was like at Drake's, I would hire people based off of like. I was like, I don't give a fuck where you worked. I was like, can you just have a conversation with me and be normal? Like, if you, I
had somebody get mad at me in an interview one time because I hadn't looked at their resume. They're like, didn't you look at my resume? And I said, no. And I was like, somebody I trust told me you were good, and now we're just going to talk because I just need to understand, like, are you going to get it? That's all I care about. I don't know how to explain it, but I can tell you with a couple questions or just your general energy if you sort of get it or not. But like this, it's like the work. If you're here because you think it's going to be looking cool and fucking around, it's like, no, it's not. Half the time we come in here in like shit clothes because we have to like roll around on the ground fixing racks and getting things ready for, it's work. It's just work. You know what I mean? Like it's fun, but it's work.
Chris, who's the sales director at Drake's, said there was one time we were having a party or some shit, and we were doing something, and there was like, but we had to move, like shipment came and it was really late, and everyone rolled up their sleeves, and he was like, no matter what you're doing, at the end of the day, you're still going to be moving boxes around. Like, if you're an owner, if you're a CEO, if you're some shit, like, and if you're not willing to do that, like, I don't want to work with you. And I totally agree. Like, I was like, if you think you're too good to like get on a ladder and like dust something, or like,
bro,
get on the floor and like use a crescent wrench and fix a rack or something. Like I don't want that. You know, I think
we're like all guys who got into fashion, but realistically, we like I fantasize about a blue collar job because that's like I love doing that shit.
Yeah,
when it's like it's a dirt day today.
Like an arborist. I'm gonna climb some trees and trim out these trees in the backyard, and I'll feel good by the end of the day. My body's beat and feel good.
My dad is a plumber, and I worked with him like a lot of summers, and there is something very rewarding about blue collars because it's like a lot of it is like problem solving.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, dude,
exactly. Yeah,
that's all it is.
It's a task, and it's and like I'm solving a problem.
Yeah.
How am I like going to cut this? Like we can put this like joint in here. Like how am I going to get under here and do this?
Yeah.
And it's like it's very funny where I'm like, you know, you give like a creative a job like that, and like when they do it, they're like, I did it because so much of your shit is like you're just making the decisions and you're not like solving problems in that way.
Yeah.
So it's like when I was under there, like fixing shit or moving shit, I'm like, when you actually do it, you're like, oh wow, I did it, thank God.
It's sick. There's something tangible. Brendan, we have our store is directly across from where we are now, and then we have like a studio warehouse. We shoot backstock, UPS picks up from our garage door, etc. And we were growing. We had to get a bunch more racks, but then that meant that the lights were hanging, were like not illuminating the aisles, so we were having to take our phones out to pull product for orders. So me and Timbo, one of our guys, ran down to Home Depot, rented us like a 16-foot ladder, and so we're up and down. And he's like, no, I think if we just move it this way, and I think if you just lean this way, and problem solving it's literally all of it. Dude.
We're an insurance nightmare, but outside of that, like we get it done.
Yeah, you need it done.
OSHA hates to see these guys come.
Yeah, you don't want
to see these two.
Yeah, that shit's not posted up, so don't come by. We have one rule. If anyone gets hurt, I've told it ahead of time. I'm yanking you outside and saying it happened out there. But we all agree to it because we want to do the weird stuff.
Yeah,
I don't want to not climb the ladder.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like it's a problem solving thing, and once you do it, you feel really good about it. And you're like, cool, I can do that again. There was one time I was on like a giant ladder, and similar to this, one of the Gucci like shoe stock rooms, and I had to change a bulb, and I remember like I got my shit rocked. I got shocked.
Yeah.
And just like it was like Jurassic Park, like flew back, and it was like, but that was like a thing. I was like, okay, well now I was like, you learn a lot quicker doing stuff like that than you do at a job where I'm like touching shirts, like I was like,
taste metal for 24 hours and you remember it.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like half of my interest in being in it is like as we grow and everything, it's like it's so great, and then the worst part about it is just like not getting to put your hands on literally every single thing because you just can't anymore. And that's like the hardest part for me as we grow, of just being like, I want to do every single job, and I want there to be enough time in the day where I can do all of it. And it's not patting myself on the back. It's just like, that's the only reason I got into this, is because you get to do every aspect of things. And that's like the most fun, because it's so frustrating when you do one thing and one thing only, and you can't touch it's all connected. You realize really quickly in these businesses. Right. Yeah.
And that's the same thing about the DIY stuff, right? Like the DIY stuff is, I'm doing this, I'm doing everything. And so like for me that's how I feel that too. Like as someone that went freelance, a lot of my days are different. Like sometimes like a client is like, hey, I need you to can you style a window? Can you style a shoot? Like, hey, we need help with like creative stuff. We need help with strategy. Who should we reach out to about this? Can you help us with like a restaurant or something like that? Can you suggest something for us? So like every day is different. And I think like but that's like what I like, clearly, because I was like, at Drake's, I did management, back of house, wholesale, retail, punk shows, whatever. At ALD, it was like VM was kind of, sure, I like ran all the VM, but also I'm like, guys, like this is how like luxury stores work. Like this is how this works. This is how this works. This is how this works. Like I know, because I've done it for a very long time. Like this is like industry standard, or this is industry standard, or this is industry standard. Like, and I like that. Like I kind of like being, to have like a couple plates spinning and just like, okay, let me go back and do this one and this one and this one. But again, I think that is the kind of like unfortunate, the gift and the curse of like DIY stuff, because if you know how stuff works, you're the person you like, I want to make this work. I want to make this work for me or for you, whoever you're working for. It's like, how do I do that?
Well, I think that even that whole like DIY scene situation really prepares you for like dealing with people and understanding like how connected everything is, because you have to like sort of give orders without giving orders, and like, you know what I mean, get people to do things when they don't want to do them, and you know,
Are
like,
you talking about like being on stage and telling people to stage dive?
sure, that works.
You stage dive,
Yeah.
next song. You stage dive.
Yeah, very quick decision making.
Yeah,
And deciding who gets to come on stage, who doesn't. Yeah, I mean, I think that like it's a tricky thing. Like man, like but I don't know. I guess really the problem is I don't know any other way to do it. So
Yeah,
that's the other. It's like that's my only training was that version of things. In every company I worked for, the advantage has always just been, oh, I'll just do it. You know what I mean? I would rather, because then I'll know how it's done, and then we can hire some. But let me do it first, and then I'll know.
Right,
But,
because there's always going to be someone. That's it. That's like, again, like I said, it's the blessing and the curse. That's the thing about doing it is there's always going to be someone that can do it better than you.
yeah.
Right. But it's like if you just try it out, you understand how it works. Like, okay, that's cool. I understand that. I like that. Right. Like, let me get something like, well, I know I don't want to do that ever again, or I know that. Let me find someone that can do that better.
Yeah.
And like you learn that way. Like that's how you're learning to do stuff.
How do you? I wanted to ask you this. How do you feel? Because I think a lot about how, like, I think that I feel like, without self-congratulating, that you're like, I must have okay taste because I've been doing this long enough. You know what I mean? You obviously have good taste based on the jobs that you've had and what you've been able to do at them. So like, you're hired off that thing, you know, let's say, but like, I think about how do you like get better at any given, you know, whatever job that you're doing, and like what's like going to the gym for that job look like? What do you think that is for you when a big part of your job is just having great taste and like being able to communicate it?
I think it's like to constantly like educate yourself and learn, and like try to like push yourself to keep learning, push yourself to keep like being like, part of the reason I'm here now is like, yes, I'm trying to meet with some people here about potential like work, but like this is the city that like raised me and made me good at. This is the city that gave me that taste, and everyone's like, how, like they're like, I don't understand. I was like, because I'm like going to museums, I'm going to bookshops, I'm like actively like learning and reading and figuring stuff out, and like you know, when you go to New York, sure, it's there, but like this is like a different thing for me. It's like a reset, and if you're constantly pushing yourself to like learn and like flex that muscle in your head, I think that is such a big deal. And it's like it's a little slower here, so I feel like I can sometimes like digest things a little bit better.
I feel you, yeah.
And like it's you know, people are like, you got to get out of New York. I'm like, yeah, because sometimes that like wears you down a little bit. Like I love the grind, I love like the hustle, I love that city. I don't think I would be anywhere else, but I got to come back here like once every like 6 months or something. Or I start to like feel crazy, you know?
Yeah.
And I think it's just like getting out and getting new experiences, and also like I've seen so much of the U.S. and there's so much like I like want to go back. Like I would love to come visit you guys sometime. You know what I'm saying? Like I would love to come back out there. I actually almost moved.
Oh really? The Boulder?
I interviewed at Montbell.
Oh yeah.
Before I took the job at Drake's, I interviewed at Montbell, and I moved with an ex, and I interviewed at Montbell, and I interviewed at Rafa.
Yeah.
And like just to like take like a sales job to like I like helped an ex move out, and I was like, it's really cool here. This is like cool and fun. And like I was like I could do it, and then I was like, and then Drake's like called me the weekend we were leaving. Like she's like pulling up to my house to come like pick me up. She's like, all right, we're about to go on a road trip, and I was like, yeah. And they're like, we'd like to offer you the job. And I'm like, I'm going to Colorado for a week. And they're like, well, can you let us know by this weekend?
Yep. Yeah, I mean, I understand what you're saying. I think it's nice to have that little like push and pull of I totally agree that like, look, we're really blessed that we do this and we're here most of the time, and then we get to go to Japan and New York and Paris and all this other stuff, and you get to have those experiences regularly. And it's great. I mean, and those places are so beautiful and exactly what you want them to be and very curated. But I think that at times, sometimes it'll get kind of stale because it's like a lot of like the same influences going round in circles, and you come out here and you're like, oh, it's like a whole. They're not participating in the same way, but they have it's got its own point of view that I can now help interpret into a different thing, and I think it's really useful in that way. Same, I'm sure Texas is the same way.
It's so useful because it's again, it's the problem solving thing.
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
So you're using that thing to problem solve and figure stuff out. And like, how am I flexing that muscle in my head to be like, I need to learn about this or figure this out? It's like, you know, you don't know everything. You're always like learning everything. That's like my favorite thing about it. It's like to like constantly like push yourself to learn more
Yeah.
and like figure new things out. It's like, that's like, I don't know, it's a very good feeling. But yeah, getting out there more. And I think getting out to places that you wouldn't expect and like wouldn't normally go to is a good one too.
Yeah. What do you think like a common, or like I'm assuming you've done quite a bit of shopping in your day. What is like the most common like retail mistake you see happen? Like when you walk in your store and you're like, they fucked up. You know what I mean? This is like the same thing you know what I mean?
Other than like just not like, actually, where do I start? I think like just people not being attentive is like a crazy one for me. It's like it doesn't take much to like say hi. The whole like not like, I hate when someone gives me a compliment on something I own.
Yeah.
Which I know sounds crazy, but I'm like,
no, you already got that shit on. What are you gonna?
Yes, I'm like, I bought it. I bought it because I like it. Like instead of being, I like your shoes. It's like, how's your day going? Where'd you go for breakfast? What are you doing? Are you visiting? Do you live here? Blah blah. And like get to know someone instead of like, don't give me like, I'm like, don't give me the bullshit like sales stuff. Like I like to be sold to. Be good at it.
Yeah.
Like, be like, you know, like I love to be sold to.
Interesting.
Because have some sort of like, interesting take on sales, I guess, at the end of the day, or trying to connect them in. So like, I can understand like saying like, oh, I love those shoes. Where did you get them? Or like, you know what I mean? Like take it a step further and like make it personal.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yes. That's the thing is I think trying to make everything a little more personal. I've always said that there is, when you walk into a store, there's a window. And the minute you walk into the store, the window gets closed. Like it closes. Like person walks in, so you have like 90 seconds to like capture their attention. And then they're like, I'm done. Right? But if you can get someone in there and you're talking and you're like engaging, and like that's fun. And then they're like, damn, I really like that place. I didn't buy anything this time, but next time I want to go in.
Yeah.
So it's like, I think that like that's a big one. And I think just being like aware in general, like you walk into a shop looks like messy, and like sometimes it happens. Like, you know, you can't always be on top of everything forever, but I think just like being aware and just being, hey, sorry, it's super messy here. We just had someone come in and we just like, we tore it up. We were having a great time. I mean, you know, like, stuff like that. I think like that's like a big one. And just trying to like, I don't know, sometimes like people try very hard to like, we need to do our own thing. We need to be like different, but also like look so much like the same. Just like, you know, like you see the what do you do for a living people? Yeah. Like, what's one style thing you get? And they're like, be yourself. And they're like wearing like, like bunch of crazy outfit. Like, yeah. But like, it's like a little bit of like half and half. Like take a lot of shit with a grain of salt. Like realize like, okay, this is good. We should be doing this for the store. Like, yeah, sure. Book ceramic, but also why, you know, like have a point of view maybe, you know?
Yeah, sure.
Well, care about the stuff that's in the store. Care about the stuff that's in the corner in the store. And I don't just mean the clothes that you're carrying. I also mean like all the photos on the wall, all the fixtures. Like I can tell you, like I know who built most of them, or I built them, or I can tell you like we have that record or that painting because of this one interesting. Like everything should have like an interest. And it's like when you go to someone's place that's really well appointed. It's fun to ask them like, where did that come from? Why is that there? I mean, because you've made very specific choices in those cases. And in a retail space, it should be that to the 10th. You know what I mean? Like it goes even farther because it's like you should have been really careful about what you put in here.
And it's like you said, it should be a reflection of not only the people that are like working there, but like, you know, everyone who's like a part of it. It should be a reflection of that, and it should be like a team thing. They should be like, hey, my friend. It's like the same with Drake's. Like, hey, my friend is an artist. Can we throw their stuff in the store? Hey, my friend's a photographer. Can we throw stuff in the store? Obviously, not every single person should be doing that, but it's like, hey, if you have a friend that does something and they're good at what they do and like it fits and it makes sense, and sometimes even if it doesn't make sense, like try it.
Yeah, well, sure. I think in a very overused, it's tough because we really take it super seriously, but at the same time, I know it's very overused, and it's just like it's that idea of community beyond just selling to someone of like, no, it's a space where I don't care if you buy something or not. It's totally irrelevant. I grew up in a place where I had no opportunity to see any type of expensive clothing. It didn't exist. I mean, I could drive 2 hours and it didn't exist, and there was no internet. There was no way to touch and feel or experience any aspect of this world. So like the lengths I had to go to touch it at all were phenomenal. And I really respect that. Like, I assume that there's plenty of people that are coming in for the first time, and it's extremely intimidating because it's expensive clothes, and you know that going in. It's a world that you don't understand or not a part of yet, and we just want to be a place where it's like it's just totally it's just guys. You know what I mean?
It's just like, guys. They're just pants, bro.
Yeah,
they're just jeans.
Yep,
it's just jeans.
Plus, like, everyone I know who's got great style and is super like beyond where I can get to, it's like they're not thinking about it as much as you are or I am. Do you know what I mean? And they're just nailing it. And it's because they're so self-actualized in this that it doesn't matter. And it's like, that's where we want to get you. Of just like, if you're friends with us and you're close with us, there's no judgment. It's just we're from Indiana and Ohio, baby. We ain't got any judgment for you. You know what I mean?
Exactly. We're just hanging out. That's the thing. It's like the first time, like, by George, like the first time I went in there, I was mispronouncing shit left and right.
Yeah.
We all
I was like, Dries Van Noten, and they're like, but like, no one was a dick about it, right? They were like, I'm going there, I'm like 17, so I'm buying shit on sale, and I'm just like, oh, I really like this is cool, blah blah blah. Like, I'm like really like, and it was like that was like one of the first places where I got to see, touch, feel, like, smell, whatever, like so much of that product that, being from Texas, you're not going to see that shit anywhere. Where are you going to see that? Department stores didn't have a buy that cool. Like, no one had a buy that cool. Like, even back then, like 2017, like, they had Capital.
Yeah.
Like I had a pair of side zip boots from Capital.
Hell yeah.
Like that back then, like, everyone was like, that shit was like not around. So like getting to see it, and like, it's you can tell like when someone comes in, and I do love that. And I'm sure you guys get this a lot of the time. Like, my least favorite thing is the kid that comes into the shop and knows everything and is like telling his friend like everything in the shop, and you're just like, all right, dude. Like, you're just like, all right, bro. Like you want to clock in? Like, I'm gonna go to lunch. Like, you go ahead and like, like, that's like very, very funny. My favorite part is when you do it and then the guy comes in with like his girlfriend or his friends, and they're saying the exact same thing you're doing. I'm like, okay, that's funny, because like they just regurgitated that to their crew. But
it's so hard with that person because it's so obnoxious in one sense. And I also I think it's such that person is obnoxious. I want to start there. But like at the same time, I try to be so thrilled that like that didn't exist. There was no way to learn about brands where I was from or what I had access to. There was the only forum that existed was Ask Andy, and that's assuming your mom wasn't on the phone so you could get on dial up, and it was just about ties. Like, there was it didn't exist. So to learn about that stuff when you were dying to learn about it, it drives me nuts. So I always try to. It's hard in Boulder, Colorado, because it's a bubble here. But at the same, but I do try to respect it. Like, there's probably a lot of kids who are like just so fucking stoked because they finally get to be in a place where they get to talk about this dorky shit that they usually look at online by themselves. And I try to just be like, this is for them. This is built
world
for them. Let them rock. Even though it's annoying the bejesus out of me.
I think it's like doing it now is a little crazier, doing it back then.
Sure.
Because like now you can just like look it up and you have it, but doing it back then, it's like it's a little harder. And it's like like what you said, it's like I was that kid at one point, right?
Yeah.
And that's the thing, is like you have to remember, it's like I remember that. It's like I was a kid at one point. But in the year 2025, like maybe not. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like I'm like, oh, maybe just like pump the brakes. Like,
that
was just like a very funny thing. But it's also like that again, it's like to me a problem, like how do I solve that problem? How do I engage with these people and not, so it's like it can be, so everyone can be part of the conversation instead of just like,
well, I think
maybe they'll teach you something, or maybe you'll teach them something. You never know.
Totally. I think that like what you're saying is that like the humbleness of like wanting to be educated and want to learn more, as opposed to like, this is my world, I'll tell you all about it. And you're like, all right, bro, like,
Yeah.
Better or worse, I've been doing this for like 15 years now. So it's like, so it's like, I think that like encouraging curiosity is like is important. I think that that's probably the response to like that kid of just being like, Jesus, man, like be interested, not so you don't need to be interesting right now. You know?
Yes.
Yeah. So it's,
I mean,
that's
like,
Yeah. Like I said, I just want to have, as much as they annoy me, because it's like they annoy me. It's like I'm glad you're here, man. Like I'm glad you're
Because
figuring it out. You'll figure it out.
Exactly. You'll figure it out. And it's like I was him once. Take it with a grain of salt. Like it's like everything I'm saying. I'm like going back to what I said. Like a second ago. I'm like, well, you also have to remember that because you were them. I have to take that with a grain of salt. How do I like make that a thing I can solve?
Yeah, because it's always hard to sit there and like, someone trying to educate you on capital. And I'm like, dude, I was the second U.S. wholesale account and it ate shit. It ate shit. I got in so much trouble for the buy I did 2 times in a row. And I'm like, they'll hit it eventually. And they're like, oh, you can't put it on sale either. And they're like, I'm like, don't worry, it'll all work itself out. I know, I get it. And you just like, and it's like, dude, I was in the dirt a long time ago when it was not what it is now. And it's like, but it's like at the same time, I'm like, no, man, tell me about it. I don't know. If this makes you feel good, that's what I'm here to do, man.
You let them do it for a little bit. You let them like, all right, well, actually, and then they're like, oh shit, my bad, but it's, like you were saying, it's like, damn, we can only sell scarves and bandanas. Everything else is cooked. Like, I can't sell these jeans. I can't sell these jackets.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's like, I mean, it's like from the scene, like it would be like, especially if you're into like grindcore, there's a massive difference between what Converge is doing and what some random band who's hitting everything as fast as they can is doing. But I'm like, you guys are figuring it out. You know what I mean? Like, it's not good, but I respect the energy. Yeah,
you'll get there. Hopefully, at some point. Yeah.
Yeah, we're just all blessed because like there wasn't a lot of like areas for me to express myself back then. So luckily there aren't fit pictures somewhere of those figuring it out days. I guess there's probably forum posts somewhere, but they don't know my name. And so like it's a much more. I'm able to curate a bit more than those kids are. So
I would rather just be like, yes, I did that. It was embarrassing for me at the time, and like I can live with it. And I was like, look. You're not always like, that was like a joke that we would always say, like, didn't start out the school, like had to kind of like had to work really hard.
Yeah.
Now you don't work as hard. Yeah.
Well, and I think that's like what's funny is like we were talking earlier about how like it's different between like you don't have to understand what the young kids are doing or whatever. And what I liked is like they're experimenting. I'm not experimenting that much anymore. You know what I mean? Like I kind of know my lane. I know what works for me. My experiments are very subtle. You know what I mean? Only I and maybe Chase, because we know each other well, is noticing. Yeah. And that's great. And that's a different type of cool that happens as you get older, where you're like, I just sit in my thing and trends come and go and they don't hit me and I'm doing my own wave and it's super cool. And younger kids can't do that, but I also can't experiment like a younger kid. So when I see like the wild ass fits some of like our employees and people pull off, I'm like, I can't do that shit. I love that you're trying this out. You know what I mean? Like, because it might be the next thing. I don't know. It looks great. I mean, as long as it's considered, I'm into it.
Yeah. I mean, it would happen at IOD all the time. Like I'd see someone do something big. Damn, that's fucking cool. I was like, you'd like think about it. Could I? Like, no.
Like,
you're like,
I'd look crazy.
No, it's not for me.
You're trying to ask them who net spend is. Like you're like, don't do that.
It's just a different thing. All right, man. Well, hey, I don't want to take up too much more of your time. I really appreciate you doing this. I've been aware of you and wanted to talk to you forever. You're one of the rare people that we haven't crossed paths somehow. So it's been really fun to get to know you, man.
Next time you guys are in New York, like just like
absolutely
give me a shout. Let's go and hang out. But yeah, I'm again like big fan of the store. I'm actually wearing the OL jeans I bought from you guys.
Oh hell yeah!
Like a couple years ago. So like
amazing. Well, you ever need anything, you be in touch. You know us.
So you just bang our lines.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And if you come to Colorado on tour or otherwise, please let Timothy and I know.
Yeah. We'd love to take you out, man.
Would love to. I trying to figure it out. I'm like really. I want to go out there this year just to do it again. It's been a while.
And I'm sure you know because you have been out here, right? But Boulder, Denver is 35 minutes depending where you're at. So I think people think they're much further separated, but they're one and the same, man. You know, so
yeah, it's like so. That was my favorite thing about also like Montbell. It's like they have 2 stores.
Yeah,
30 minutes away from each other.
Yeah. Easy.
The States.
Nothing in between.
Yeah,
cool, man. Well, I appreciate your time. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, of course, guys. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Bro.
Yeah, if you need anything, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Peace.
Bye.